All right, before we practice, I want to show you a few modifications. Of course, I went from the end of the practice to the beginning of the practice. So this is a modification for shoulder stand, which we do towards the end of the practice. Use a chair with your feet on the chair seat. And in the practice, you see we take knee to nose or knee to forehead. That was a modification for that. I'm going to take this blanket back though and put this under shoulders. This just feels better with the shoulder stand variation using a chair, especially since the chair will help to push your hips up higher, and then it will push more pressure into your shoulders and your neck. So having a blanket just under your shoulders and your elbows is ideal, not under your neck. So here I've got feet on the chair seat, and you can stay here for shoulder stand, or you can start to push one foot up to the ceiling. And then here's where you could squeeze that knee down in towards your chin or your forehead. Just play with it. You'll see when we get to the class what I'm talking about. And then switch sides. All right, you can also take both feet up if it feels good, but don't push it. You can lower down when you're ready. And I like to hook my feet around the back of that chair and just let the knees open up into a reclining wide angle. This is a wonderful counter or recovery position after shoulder stand. All right. And then Shavasana. This is always a really good option for Shavasana, legs up in the chair seat. Okay. All right, so let's roll off and come up and I'll show you another modification for moving into plow pose. So that was shoulder stand, and this would be going into plow pose. So blanket under your shoulders again. Your head and your neck are clear of the blanket. And when I did this, I was way too close to the chair. I guess I wasn't really. I felt like I was farther, but I want that chair away. So anyways, position the chair. All four chair legs should be on the yoga mat so it's not slippery. And then when you roll back over to your chair seat, your toes can be on the chair. And this is a great modification for Halasana plow pose. So your feet don't have to come all the way down to the floor, especially if you have a tight back chain. And here is the both knees to head variation that we take in this class. Feet on the chair just help give you a little extra stability and less jamming into that. Okay, and then roll out of it. All right, I'll show you another modification here for shoulder stand using blocks and also the chair seat. So again, get your blanket there for your shoulders. Set a couple blocks up where your hips are gonna go. I like to have two, so I'm just gonna take them back with me to the end of the mat. So it's best here to lie down first, put your feet on the chair seat, make sure your head is clear of the blanket, then lift your hips, test out one block, maybe two blocks. This gives you even more support in conjunction with the chair, with the two props together. It's going to give you max support and confidence and free of any pain in this posture. So here, one leg up and then the other leg up, right? And again, here you could take the knee into the chest. So when I, in the class, cue knee to third eye, right here you could just squeeze knee to chest, Apanasana. Then both legs go up, right? So this is a wonderful, this is actually, I love doing this. This is great for a modification or a supplement for shoulder stand. Okay. When you want to come out of it, put your feet back on the chair seat, lift your hips, and lower the blocks out. Yep. Maybe rest on one and then release the second one. And then again, here you can hook your feet and let your knees open up for a little recovery from shoulder stand. And again, this could be a great Shavasana. This could be your resting pose or even meditation. When we take the meditation at the end of the class, this is a great position to be in for that. I love it. All right, so next we're going to move on to Janu Sirsasana and get the chair, foot under the chair seat. You're going to pull that chair under, situate your leg for the knee bend, put a block under your knee. You're sitting on a blanket to help lift your hips. And then you can simply fold out over to the chair seat with your forehead on the chair seat, pillowing your head with your arms. You could also put a block, a blanket, play with it, whatever feels really good here. Just know that you don't have to fold down to your leg to feel good. Pull that chair in a little closer if you want some arm support. Let your hands just dangle out through the back of the chair seat. And this will help keep your hips neutral and just provide some more restorative benefits of this forward fold. And then we'll move on to revolved Janu Shirshasana. So you'll turn your blanket to the side, and we go through this in the class, sitting on the edge of the blanket with your sit bones. And I want the chair rung between those two legs, the back legs. My foot is going to press right into that. So I want that chair rung right at the ball of my foot. And then my hands are going to go over to the chair seat. So right here, you might have to play with proportions, block under your head. I really prefer the blanket. So I'm going to forego the blanket under my hips, or if you have a second blanket, put it on the chair seat to pad up your head. And then from here, you can grip the bottom rung, the front rung with your hand, and then your top arm can go overhead to the bottom of that chair seat. And then you have something to rest. Here I'm stretching my arm through and grabbing the bottom of that chair seat. Ooh, and then you can really flip over. So right here, you're hugging the side of the chair back. Okay. I'm going to show you the back view of that so you can see a little better what I was doing there. So switching sides here so you can see the back side of this modification. My right foot is pressing into the back chair rung. Then I'm reaching through underneath to the back of the chair seat, and then with my right hand, and then I'm going overhead with my left arm to grab the side of the chair back. Or you could take your hand around and hook, I love this variation for revolved Janu Shirshasana. It's so supportive. So Parvrit Janu Shirshasana. Okay. So next I'm going to show you the beginning of the class. Again, I'm going in reverse here. So this is where I do some seated side bends and twists and stuff. You can put blocks under your feet if you feel like sitting on the chair, your knees are too low. They're lower than your hips. It's okay to have them slightly higher than your hips, but not too high. These are slightly too high for me. But sitting on a blanket will help pad up your sit bones also and combat that. At the beginning of the practice, we take arms up and hold for 5 breaths. This is a good modification at the beginning of the practice, just to sit in the chair. We also take some cat-cow seated. So anything that we do at the beginning in this practice where you're sitting on the floor, sit on a chair and stack up your feet and take any of the seated stretches. This is one of them, cat-cow with your arms. Another one is these fists of fire where your elbows come up and you tuck and then you pull your elbows back and open your heart. These stretches at the beginning of the class just might be easier in a chair than seated on the floor with cross leg, especially if that's a really uncomfortable position for you. And then we do some twists. And this actually felt more open for me in the chair than it did seated. Who knew? I didn't know it felt better until I tried it. So maybe give it a go and see. Another nice additional prop here is a block between the thighs, and that helps to keep your legs active. Right, so any of these beginning warm-ups that we take in this specific practice, or any practice really, you could practice in a chair, block between your knees. Okay, so give me a few examples here, and then we'll move into the twists. Especially here, the block between your thighs helps. All right. Good. So the next modification I'm going to show you is when we take the half lotus position, which can be pretty challenging for a lot of people. So sitting in a chair does make this a little easier. I'm going to put my foot up on that block just to lift that leg up, and I'm going to cross my ankle over my thigh. Here's the full lotus position, and you'll see in the class we just do this inhale, cat-cow here, hug the knee in. So sit in the chair if when you get to that position it feels really uncomfortable. Also, anything that you can sit up on, like a step stool or something, just make sure that that left leg, if it's out straight, it's not hyperextended. So here I've bent my left knee and crossed ankle over thigh instead, especially if half lotus feels really painful in the knee or the ankle. And then we move into a twist as well here. Yeah, nice little twist. Okay, so any of that stuff at the beginning of the class, please feel free to grab the chair, pull it in, and here's the straight leg wonky thing that we were doing. So I'm just going to sit off to the side. This was a little weird on the floor for me. I'm going to show you this is much more helpful. So turn the chair to the side, sit off to the side of the chair, straight legs, and then use the chair back with your hands to bow over to the right or left. And you'll see once we get there. Seated on the floor, it felt a little awkward. So this actually felt, I don't know, this one made more sense to me to use the chair. So play with it. See how you like to modify your practice. And again, this practice should all be about the feels, man. So take it easy and enjoy your practice. All right, so this class today is stress relief. Grab a block and we'll come to seated in an easy seated position. You can use a blanket instead if that's more comfortable for you. Just finding a position where you can sit and balance on your sitting bones with your shoulders over your hips and your ears over your shoulders. Relax your hands. Move your shoulders and head around a few times if you need to just kind of stretch out a little bit. And then gather your breath here, setting the pace of the class. Smooth inhale and exhale. And just noticing how your breath changes once you start to bring attention to it and watch it and feel it. It's just moving in and out of your nose. Again, this is going to set the pace for the speed of your movement when we do start to move into dynamic movements. You're welcome to practice Ujjayi breath here if you like that. Soft, hushing, whispering in the back of your throat as you breathe. And then on your inhale, reach your arms up, and we'll pause here for just about 5 rounds of breath. You can look up if that's okay for your neck. You can also look forward. You can take your hands together. You can keep your arms out wide. So looking up will give you a bit more of an extension in your upper back. And so even if it's just a slight look up with your chin and then more movement with your eyes. And then again, just about another round of breath here until we start to move. Exhale, take your arms down to the side. Again, rest them on your lap, on your thighs. Gather your breath here. Inhale and exhale. All right, and then reach your arms up just about shoulder height. Okay, exhale, take your fingertips together in front of you. Bow your chin. Inhale, open your arms out away from your chest and look up. So it's something like cat-cow here. Exhale, fingertips in front of you, touching, bowing in with your chin, pulling your spine back, a little rounding in the spine. Inhale, open your chest, maybe even look up. Exhale, bow, tap fingers, pull back into those sit bones. Inhale, open, look up, stretch your chest open. And exhale, tapping in front, fingertips together, bow your chin. Inhale, open. Okay, release your arms back down to your lap, to your thighs. Gather your breath here. Move anything around that needs to be stretched out. All right, so again, you're going to reach your arms up out into shoulder height, and then you're going to twist. Exhale. Try to keep those arms just as they are, like an airplane. Inhale back to center, and then exhale, twist to the right. Inhale back through center, and exhale, twist. Inhale, release the twist, and exhale, other side, other direction. And you're twisting from that mid upper back area. Inhale back through center, and again, exhale, twist. Inhale, center. So you could even flip your palms up if that feels better to get this upper back a little bit more open, and twist, and back through center. All right, release your arms as you exhale, and again, do some shoulder shrugs, neck rolls. Anything that feels good here, just in between rounds of movement. We're going to take another dynamic movement here. All right, lift your arms back up to shoulder height, make fists, and then you're going to squeeze those elbows in, fists together, tuck your chin in towards your elbows and exhale. And then on your inhale, you're going to pull your fists down towards your ribs, elbows back, look up. And exhale, elbows together in front of you, chin towards elbows. And inhale, open. Pull those elbows back, pull your fist back. So it's kind of like cat-cow yet again. As you exhale, round, elbows together, fists up. And then as you inhale, fist down, elbows back, chest up, chin up, open your back. Exhale, hug in, squeeze in, and inhale, open up. Good. Release your arms back out to the side. And exhale, release your arms down to your thighs again. And then again here, just pause for a round of breath. Notice how that dynamic movement, maybe energized or relaxed, it has a different effect on everybody, but just notice that breath guided movement, and it doesn't even have to have a label to it, just that it's affecting your body. All right, so we're going to scooch back over to the center of the mat in hands and knees pose. You can move your stuff out of the way if you've got props in the way there. And then hands and knees. Big toes together, separate your knees just as far as you'd like, and sit back into child's pose, Balasana. Exhale here. And then inhale, big breath here. Open your chest, open your ribs with the breath. Feel softness in your hips. You can soften your elbows down to the floor. And just taking a few moments to let your forehead rest. So the fronts of your legs soften, the tops of your thighs are relaxing. With each breath, maybe there's a little bit more you can let go of. Gripping, tension, thoughts. All right, and then we'll start to slowly roll back up into a tabletop pose. And then inhale, open your chest. Look up. Exhale, pull your back up to the ceiling, round your spine, push down into the floor and drop your chin. Inhale, drop your belly button, lift your chest through your shoulders, open your gaze up to the ceiling. And exhale, round your spine, pull up with those back muscles, pull up with your belly muscles, push up. And inhale, open and extend. Use your back muscles to shorten the spine here on the back side. And then when you exhale, use your back muscles to lengthen the spine on the back side. Right, coming back into a neutral tabletop, lift your right leg, and here again extend, open your gaze up, and then exhale, pull your knee into your chest as you round out. So the same movement as cat-cow, just adding in leg movement. Right leg is lifting up and back when you inhale, and when you exhale, pull your right knee into your chest and round. Maintain that press into the hands, heels of your hands, fingers, your knuckles. Inhale, open, leg up and back. Exhale, round, knee in and through. Squeeze. Come back to tabletop pose. If you need to shake it out a little bit, you can. If you need child's pose in between sides, also it's fine. So if you're taking child's pose, hips to heels. And then inhale back up. Roll all the way down to your hips here for a cobra shape, just to open up your chest here and get out of that low back in case it was starting to become sore. All right, move around as you need, cat-cow. And then we'll set up for that second side. Left leg's going to lift up and back. Inhale, open your chest. Exhale, pull your left knee in as you round your spine. Push the floor away with the right knee, the right foot, and your both hands. Inhale, open, left leg back. And exhale, round left knee through. Inhale, stretch back with your left foot, lift your gaze. Exhale, squeeze your knee through, squeeze your heel to your butt. Inhale, open, back up, lift your leg, lift your gaze, and then release it down. All right, and again, sit back, child's pose, hips to heels. From tabletop, you're moving slowly back into child's pose, Balasana. And then inhale, roll back through. Come all the way down this time, right into a cobra shape, just melting into it. You can lower your hips down lower if having your hips up too high is hurting your back. And then exhale, up and back, downward facing dog. Lift your knees, press your thighs up and back, lengthen out your low back a little bit. Shake your head out as you need. Wave your spine around as you need. Just find that sweet spot to enjoy this posture instead of doing a pose and focusing on alignment and what's right, what's wrong. Just feel the shape in your body here with your breath moving and your breath allowing any adjustments and maybe even inviting and encouraging adjustments, self-adjustments, right? So little movements here and there, whether it's a knee bend or a wobble. All right, go ahead and walk your feet up to your hands and forward fold, Uttanasana, exhale. And pause here for a moment. Just enjoy the forward fold again. Just enjoy the shape. Come all the way up to stand, Urdhva Hastasana, reach your arms up. stretching out. Samastitihi, standing pose. So throughout the rest of this practice, and as hopefully you were doing at the beginning, I should have mentioned it earlier, but I just want you to focus on the feeling. The shapes that you're in don't have a name right now. Just focus on the feeling. Inhale, reach your arms, stretch up, and then fold. Exhale, take your fingertips towards the floor. Then step your left leg back and lower your left knee down. Lunge, inhale, reach your arms up to the ceiling slowly. Lift your chest up to the ceiling. Press back through your left foot. And just slow movement of the shoulder joints and hip joints as you place your palms down and step back into downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. And then inhale into a kneeling position so you can tap your chest and chin on the floor. Keep your hips up, 8-point bow. And then slide through into cobra. And press up over your knees, tucking your toes. Back into downward facing dog as you lift your knees and press your legs back towards straight. And step your left foot up, lower your right knee down. And then inhale, reach your arms up into a low lunge. Your hands can stay down, they can stay at your heart or at your hips. But lift your chest, lift your gaze maybe. And then again, slow movement of the joints as you take your hands down to the floor. Push off of your right foot so you can step forward and fold. Exhale. Inhale, lift your chest, lift your head, lift your arms, reach up. Exhale, release your arms, standing pose. And then we'll do that again. Inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale, forward fold, nice and slow. Step your right leg back this time and lower your right knee to the floor. And then as you inhale, reach your arms, open your chest. Exhale to the floor with your hands. Step back, downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. And then again, inhale, take your knees down and then bend your elbows. Exhale, tap your chest and chin. Slide through to your hips. Inhale, open your chest, cobra. Exhale, roll over your knees, tuck your toes, and press up and back, downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Nice smooth breath here. And then step forward with your right foot. Lower your left knee down. Low lunge. Inhale, reach your arms. Lift your gaze, lift your chest. Push back with your left toes and then slide those hands down to the floor. Step off your left foot so you can come up and exhale into a forward fold over both legs at the top of your mat. Inhale, come up, Urdhva Hastasana, reach up nice and tall. Samastitihi, exhale, standing pose. Okay, find your balance here and then inhale, reach your arms. Exhale, fold down over your legs. And then you're going to step back 1 foot at a time, downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. And then from downward facing dog, take your knees to the floor and then slow, easy chaturanga. Lower down to hips. We're going to cross diagonal here, left hand to right foot, and get a block out in front of you. Put your right hand on the block. And then push your right foot into your left hand. Keep your left toes on the floor, stretching back behind you. Keep your gaze out past the bridge of your nose and keep pressing down into your right hand and pressing into your left hand with your right leg. Then we're going to move this into a twist. So now come down, thread your right arm through so you can roll over to your left side. And then you can pillow up your head there with a blanket, pat it up. Your left knee just kind of curls up into your chest. You've got your left hand to your right foot behind you. You can flip that right palm up. Just look up to the ceiling here. Let your left hip roll over to the on top of your right hip. Easy twist here. Breathe from your belly. And just focus on your breath. Again, here noticing what you can let go with each breath. Okay, roll back over to your belly and take your right hand forward. One more little push up and then release your leg. Let's come into a little belly rest, crocodile pose, forehead on your forearms. You shimmy your hips around there for a moment. And here, feel your belly connect to the floor as you breathe. Inhale and exhale. And breathing from your belly, feel that expansion right into your mat. All right, so we'll set up for the second side. So now you're going to take your block over to your left hand. So your left arm is straight out in front of you in a nice long diagonal line. Right hand comes back across the diagonal to the left foot. Push your left foot into your right hand. And again, your right toes stretch back down into the floor, just looking forward. So it doesn't matter how high you get your foot here or how high you get your arm. You're just feeling a connection, and you're feeling energy. You're feeling an opening, some space. Just notice the sensation and not the accomplishments in this posture. All right, release down a little bit just so you can thread through, get your blanket ready for your head. So thread your left arm through to your right side of the room, and then roll over to your left. Okay, so your right knee curls up into your chest, and you've got your left foot, left hand connection there. And your right shoulder can gently roll over to the floor, but try not to force it. And again, your left palm out to the side can flip up to relax your shoulders. And just breathe here. Again, what can you let go of? It's a constant practice. All right, we're going to come back over to the belly. So you can come over and thread that left arm back out now and take your left arm forward for one brief little push up. And then release. And again, pillow your forehead with your forearms. Shimmy your hips around, relax. Let your belly breathe right into the floor here. All right, start to come back up to your hands next to your ribs and peel up off the floor and through tabletop. And just a moment to balance out your spine and table. Sometimes that back bend can feel a little icky. And then sit your hips back to your heels, child's pose. So I'm going to actually take rabbit pose here. You can stick with child's pose if you don't want to take Shashangasan. Top of your head would come to the floor. You would take your nose into your knees as much as you can. Grab your heels and then lift your hips and press over your head so you can feel this great stretch in the upper back shoulder area. Alternatively, if it's slippery to keep your heels here, you could just take your hands to your calves. Or you could even interlace your hands behind your back. In Yoga Mudrasana, this is a belly work, belly engaged posture, so you might feel a little cramping in your front core line, so be careful with that. All right, and then release and take your hands forward again for child's pose, just for a moment. All right, roll up and through table. Move out any articulation of the joints that you need here, side to side, twisting, rolling, cat-cow. And then we're going to come to seated, and you're going to grab a blanket. I'm taking this blanket into a bit of a wider fold so that I can just sit on the front edge of the blanket. So my sitting bones are going to come right to the very front of this blanket. You don't want too much of your thighs supported on the blanket here. If you're not going to use anything under your hips, that's fine. You can just stay on the floor. So we're going to take Janu Shirshasana, and that's where I realized I was too far back. I'm going to take the left foot in and up to your inner right thigh. Put a block under the outside of your left knee or some kind of a pillow. Block to the inside of your right foot or some kind of support. And that way your head can rest on the block. Try not to let your left hip pull back too much. And so it's better to situate it before you move into the posture than to crank your hips once you're in a forward fold. So I want you only go into the forward fold as far as you can go with your hips staying pretty neutral here. So play with the block. Maybe it goes on the top of your shin. Maybe you don't use a block. Maybe you can use the block underneath your foot instead for an extension. And just let this be a relaxing forward fold. Breathe from your belly right into that mid back area, the mid rib area, the low lobes of your lungs. And oftentimes you'll feel as you're here, you can gain extra space in this posture. But instead of taking advantage of that space, just try to be in that space and enjoy it a little bit more instead of asking for more and trying to go deeper. All right, and then you're going to inhale, lift your head back up. And we're going to turn this into a revolved Janu Sirsasana. So you're going to want to angle your blanket a little bit so that you can also angle your hips a little bit off to the left there. So go ahead and angle your blanket and then sit back on the edge of your blanket with your sitting bones and set up those legs again so the left thigh or the left foot is inside your right thigh. You might not need a block here since the hips are a little bit more open. You might not need it under your left knee. Instead, I like the block behind right leg so I can lean elbow onto it and then just cup your head and look up to the ceiling. You can adjust that block height, take it a little lower. So play with this. You might want the block inside of your right leg. And you might not need a block at all. I like to put the block on top of my shin. So here you can play with the block inside of your right leg, and then you can flip that elbow and then the hand to grab the foot, and then maybe even start to stretch the other arm overhead towards your foot. And then again, like I was saying before, I like the block on top of my shin so that I can rest my head on the shin. And then I just kind of cross diagonal there, the hand over to the other thigh. So here, patting up your ear or your head with the block. Yeah, there you go. And then your left arm can reach over towards your right foot, or if you have a strap or a tie handy. So if you want to stay here for a few extra moments, please play with it because I know I just gave you a bunch of options. Find the one that works best for you. Maybe pause the video and just be in that posture for a few moments. And then when you're ready, we'll lift back up to seated. All right, and turn back to face the end of your mat, and you can resituate your blanket. And we're going to take a little upward facing tabletop just to get out of that forward fold in case you were feeling it in your back. This is a great front shoulder stretch. I like using blocks, especially for this type of a class. This type of a class is just for stress relief, not to like get big shoulders or big mass flexion in the shoulders or extension in the hips, nothing like that. We just want to enjoy the postures, right? So push down into your heels, lift your hips, stretch your chest out. The blocks under your hands are helpful. Also blocks under your feet. It just depends on your proportions. Who knows? But one little nice big stretch here, a couple breaths. And then come down once it starts to feel like it's turning into a power. The extension in your shoulders was turning into a power move, then get out of it. All right, we'll come back to the edge of that blanket, set up for the second side, Janu Sirsasana. So now your right foot's going to slide up, and then once your foot gets up as high as it can get, turn your knee over to the side, so rotating the right thigh and the hip joint. Again, find the edges of the sit bones right on the edge of your blanket, and try to neutralize those hips before you move into the forward fold. So again, you're not opening your hips to get deeper into a forward fold. This is not about how deep can I go. We got to let go of that. This is about using the benefit of the forward fold to calm your nervous system. And when you start to stretch aggressively into a posture, it goes in the opposite direction. It actually will stir up that nervous system and move into that front brain and just make you more aggressive and move from the ego. We don't want to do that. So find the block where it helps you, under the right knee, on top of your left shin, inside of your left knee, or to the bottom of your left foot. If you're using the block on the bottom of your left foot, push the ball of your foot into a block like you're pushing on a gas pedal. And then again, let the space happen here. Instead of expecting more from your body, expecting more from the posture, move into the space that you have right here, right now, and just enjoy that space. Breathe right from your belly into your back. Soften your shoulders. Lengthen out the back of your neck. And then inhale, lift up. And again, we'll situate the blanket off to the side so that we can move into Parivrit Janu Sirsasana, the revolved side, the revolved head of the knee pose. So I'm just angling that off to the right, and then I'm going to sit again on the edge of the blanket with the sit bones. Right foot comes back up inside. Again, you're going to have more open hips here, so your right knee might be more comfortable on the floor. Again, if you need something underneath the right knee, pat it up. Find your block, whether it's behind your left thigh here and your elbow on the thigh on the block. And then you can cup your head, just kind of like a little elbow rest. You can keep your right hand on your hip, shoulders open to the ceiling. So whichever variation you're taking, make sure that it's not causing your shoulders to slump down or your chest to point down to the floor. You want your chest to turn up to the ceiling. So play with the height of the block and play with the placement of the block. Do you want the block inside your thigh, on top of your thigh, or behind your thigh? And again, you can practice flipping that grip, grabbing the inside of your foot. Your right arm could come overhead here and look for your left toes, or if you have a strap handy. And put the block back on the shin, because this I feel a nice big long stretch from my right hip up to my right shoulder, because you can see lifting my head up doesn't pull down too much, and it creates a smooth line on the right side instead of a sharp bend. And again, it's all about really feeling that space and being in that space, taking advantage of it, but not pushing it too far. You know, taking it for granted is one thing. We don't want to do that. Good. Inhale, come back up. And then we're going to face back to the front. So you can scoot your blanket back to neutral. And then your hands can come back to those blocks again. If you want to take the upward facing table without blocks, please feel free. Fingers point towards your hips. And lift those hips up. This block modification is also helpful for any wrist issues. So it helps to take out that sharp angle in the wrist by lifting your wrists up about 4 inches off the floor, depending on the height of your blocks. And again, it's just for a front body stretch here. This shouldn't be a big power pose. Once you start to feel the extension in your shoulders burning, then you can start to come back down. All right, and then once you get back down to seated, come to staff for a moment. Get those blocks if you need. You can move your blanket out of the way. Okay. All right, so I had to move my blanket back a little bit here. I'm going to take this different approach to staff pose. And you'll see. So I had those blocks there next to me. It ended up not working for me. It was too high. I would rather, instead, if you're sitting on a blanket, make sure that you're on the blanket with both hands and kind of leaning down to the floor. And then here, just look up to the ceiling. It feels awkward at first. And then bend your elbows and fold down just to where you can go. I don't care about lined up shoulders. It's just a movement. Inhale, open your chest. Push down through your right sit bone. Look up to the ceiling. And then exhale, fold, bend your elbows. It's kind of like chaturanga. Inhale, look up. You can come to fingertips if palms flat is too much. And then bend your elbows and fold. Good. Come back up. Inhale. Exhale, bow. And then inhale back up. All right, and untwist back to neutral, Dandasana staff pose. Again, if you want your blocks, you can take them to the other side. I felt like they didn't really help me very much. I just said get them out of the way here. And then hands on the blanket or the floor next to your hips. And then again, you're going to push down into your left sit bone. And I had to scooch over because you want your hands on the blanket. So if you're on a blanket, you don't want your hands on the lower surface. And then bend your elbows, fold once you inhale, lift. Okay. Inhale, lift back up, push down into your left sit bone. And I didn't realize that I was really twisted, kind of wonky there. Bow, exhale. Inhale, open your chest up to the ceiling. Push into your hands. Exhale, bow, bend your elbows. Keep pushing down with that left sit bone. It might lift a little bit. That's fine, but it's just an energetic push. Bow once again here. Inhale, open, and then come back to center. All right, so similar here. Instead, we're going to move into, instead of staff, we're going to move into a half lotus position. So you're welcome to take number 4, just crossing your left shin over your right thigh. And I thought about putting a block here, but I don't like this because I need some mobility. I mean, that's fine, but it didn't feel good to me. You can play with that. So you're going to push into your knee, not pushing it down to the floor, but pushing your chest up to the ceiling. And then you're going to exhale, hug your knee, and bow to your knee. Nothing else matters here other than what you're doing with your arms, your left leg, and your right leg is just stretching out. Inhale, Press with your hands to open your chest. Hug with your arms to bow in. Again, you're not pushing your knee to the floor. You're just pushing your chest up to the ceiling. And then hug, squeeze. Okay, so right here, just a little twist. Look over your shoulder and still hug. Nothing's changed other than just kind of looking over your left knee, looking over your left shoulder. Yep. And then release. All right. Let's do the other side. If you need a bit of a forward fold, please feel free, or if you need to revisit that upward facing tabletop, get that in again. So here I'm showing you with the number 4 shape. So your right ankle could cross the thigh, and you could do the same thing. Otherwise, draw your heel up into your hip crease, press out through your left foot. Again, you're only pressing into your knee to lift your chest up to the ceiling. You're not pressing your knee down to the floor. And then exhale, hug. Knee to nose, nose to knee. Use your arms. Inhale, gently push your knee back down. So this is really great for massaging that hip joint. Inhale, lift your chest, and exhale, hug in. Inhale, press your hands towards your knee to lift your chest up higher, look up. And exhale, hug your knee into your chest. Let your right foot just move so that if it needs to flex or stay pointed so that your knee doesn't hurt. Now here we'll add in that twist. Keep the hug and just look over your shoulder. And then untwist back to neutral, staff pose, Dandasana. All right, so from here, you can slide your blanket back and lie down on the floor. We're going to take some dynamic bridge movements. The blanket under your shoulders actually is preferable for me. It was when I had my head on the blanket here, it felt like my chin was in too far to my chest, so I didn't like that. So I'm just going to take the blanket out of the way. Hug knees to chest. And we're going to move into that bridge here in just a minute, so you might want to bring that blanket back in. So here I'm going to put the blanket under my shoulders. So the key here is to have the blanket under your shoulders and your elbows. So make sure the blanket is open enough so that your elbows and your shoulder heads both touch the same surface. Neck and head are off the blanket. And then as you inhale, reach your arms overhead and lift your hips up to the ceiling. And as you exhale, roll back down. Yep, move around if you need. So I was too far up. Elbows are still there. Shoulders are still there on the blanket. Inhale, push down into your feet. So maybe scoot your feet away from your hips a little bit. This does not need to be a big bridge pose. Exhale, roll back down. So when you roll back down, maybe even just hover your tailbone and your sacrum before inhaling and lifting back up. That adds in an extra bit of core work for you if you like. Inhale, reach your arms, reach your hips. Exhale, lower down nice and slow. So your arms come back up and down. So here's where I started to take 3, 4, 5, 6 breaths per one movement. So instead of going inhale up, exhale down, I was breathing in and out the whole time. And look how much slower that is. You can rewind and see, and it felt 10 times better. So right here, inhale, exhale, exhale. You're lifting though the whole time. It's one big movement, many smooth breaths. And just keep inhaling, exhaling, inhaling, even as you start to lower your hands and your shoulder back down, or your spine back down, and then your hips, and you're still inhaling and exhaling. Hover those sit bones and tailbone and sacrum. And then it's just your breath is like, it's just like you're riding a wave. You know, the waves of the ocean when you surf they don't just go 1, 2, right? They all the way, all over the place, right? Let your breath do that. All right, and then into shoulder stand. So here is exactly why you wanted the elbow and shoulders both on the same surface. So you can move into shoulder stand, Salam Sarvangasana. Instead, if you don't like shoulder stand, you could put your hips on a block or two. And in shoulder stand, knee to forehead. See if you can press that third eye with your knee. And the other leg presses up to the ceiling, push down into your shoulders. And then up with your leg. And then again, left knee is going to come down to your third eye. Press your right foot up to the ceiling. Keep pressing down with your elbows. Keep the right leg very active. And then your left leg back up. Good. And then lower your feet overhead for plow pose, Halasana. You can interlace your hands behind you and straighten out your arms from your elbows. And then both knees to the third eye. Breathe from your belly here. Try not to let it collapse and reduce the full belly breath. Make sure it's at its, most efficient breathing. And then you can just start to lower down, release your arms first, kind of hug your knees in, lower down slowly to your hips. Draw in Apanasana, knees to chest. And then feet to the floor and come up to seated. All right, so we're going to set up here for fish pose. I'm going to take that blanket and roll it up into a little bolster. And then I'm going to lie back over this with the shoulder blades so my shoulders come down to the floor behind the blanket bolster. Arms overhead, legs out in front of you, and just enjoy this. So your low back is lifted, your chest is lifted, your throat is lifted, your chin is lifted. You can even start to look back towards your fingers. Maybe you can see them in a peripheral line of vision there. And again, max breathing here as far as efficiency goes. Not like the biggest breath ever, but the most efficient breath. Slow it down, smooth it out, pace it out. Great. And then you can come back up out of this by pushing down into the floor with your hips and pushing into the bolster with your shoulders, curling up with your core. Move the blanket out of the way and roll back down onto the floor. Interlace your fingers behind your neck here, not your head, your neck. And then pull your elbows into your right knee to your elbows. And then lower back down, straighten out your right leg, open your arms. And then exhale, curl, pull your elbows together, knee to elbows, elbows to knee. And then inhale, release back down. And we'll do that again. Knee, right knee, elbows, elbows, right knee, squeeze. And then release. You can open the elbows up when you come back down to the floor. And then hug your left knee in, curl up, lift your head and shoulders, elbows to knee to elbows. Lower back down onto your spine, open up everything, and then back up, knee, right knee, elbows. And open up with your elbows, open up with your spine, open up with your legs. Left knee in, elbows in, curl in, crunch. And then stretch out from toes to head. Good, both knees come in, elbows to both knees. Squeeze. And then just let your hands come around and hug your knees and then lower your head down and your shoulders down. Take a gentle twist here. Let your knees drift over to the left. Your right arm opens up out softly beside you. Nothing aggressive about this at all. Very passive, easy twist. Maybe even close your eyes down, lift your knees back up, and a little hug, a little rock and roll between sides. And then let your knees drift over to the right. Again, your left arm just gently releases out beside you. Let it relax. Maybe close your eyes down. Make sure your left shoulder is not gripping or squeezing. Smooth, easy breath here. And then coming back up to the center, hug your knees in, Apanasana, little rock and roll if it feels good, or just stay there. Sometimes it's just nice to not move. All right, stretch yourself out into relaxation pose here for a few moments. You can let your body relax, let your heels scooch away, your toes relax out to the side, your fingers curl in with nothing to do. Chin is soft, jaw is soft, face is soft. Just focus on your breath here for a few moments, watching the movement of your breath. I talked about that ocean and the waves and how irregular and they just move. Let your breath move just like that. So sometimes it's fast, sometimes it's slow, sometimes it's big, sometimes it's not. That's the power and that's the beauty of the breath. It works for your body. So just let it be here, working as it does. Just watching it, observing it, being really mindful and also respectful of your breath. All right, so we're going to come up into a little breathing practice so you can start to stretch out and come up to seated as you're ready. Pause the video if you need a little bit more time to be here in this resting position or if you need some time to get yourself back up to seated. I would suggest sitting on a block or even in a chair. For this, we're going to practice alternate nostril or nadi balancing, nadi shodhana. So come into this easy seated position with your hips, shoulders, and ears stacked up. Relax everything, shake it out. If you need to stretch your jaw, blah, stick your tongue out a little. You're going to use your right hand here to seal your nostrils. Nice big breath in through your nose, smooth it out, and then exhale first. And then when you're ready, seal off your right nostril and breathe in through your left. And then seal your left nostril, slight pause, breathe out of your right. Inhale back in through the right side. And then when you're ready to exhale, seal your right nostril so you can exhale out of your left. And then that's one complete round. Inhale back in through the left side. And then when you're ready to exhale, seal the left nostril and exhale out of the right. The only time you're switching your hands or your fingers is when you exhale. Inhale back in through the right side when you're ready to inhale. And then when you're ready to exhale back out of the left, seal your right nostril just for a pause. Both are sealed. And then release your left so you can exhale. And that's 2 rounds. Inhale back in through your left. And seal your left side. Exhale out of your right. Again, when you switch your fingers, maybe there's a slight pause where both nostrils are sealed. When you're ready to inhale, smooth inhale back in through the right side. And then switch your right for your left. Exhale out of your left. So seal the right, release the left, exhale. And this is 3 rounds. Inhale back in through your left. And seal your left side. Pause. Release your thumb. Unseal the right. Exhale out of the right side. When you're ready to inhale, back in through the right. Seal the nostril. Exhale out of your left. And that's 4 rounds. And 1 more round here. Inhale back in through your left. And seal your left. Pause. Open your right side to breathe out. When you're ready to breathe back in, right through the right. Inhale. And then seal, maybe pause with both nostrils for a moment, and then release your finger for your left exhale. And that's 5 full rounds. When you're ready to inhale, release your hand and inhale through both nostrils. Just take a few rounds of natural breath here. I'm going to move you through a guided meditation here in just a moment. So if you'd like to take a few more rounds of that alternate nostril breathing or balance the nadi clearing, channel clearing, you can sit for a few more moments and take another 5 rounds. You can pause the video and catch up with the meditation when you're ready. Otherwise, you can stay here seated or lie back down for the meditation. Get yourself comfortable. You can also opt to sit in a chair for this if this is the best positioning for you in meditation. But take your time to soften your shoulders, move anything around that needs stretched out or release any tension. Feel your shoulders loosen, feel your neck and legs relax. And if you're in a chair, excuse me, let your hands rest on your thigh. If you're seated in easy seated position on your mat, you can cup your hands, palms facing up. Or you can have your hands on your knees. If you're on your back, relaxing in a supine position, You can relax your hands up on a couple blocks or a couple pillows. Prop yourself up so that your head is not, your chin isn't higher than your chest and your forehead is not lower than your chin. And after getting yourself in a comfortable position, let your eyelids close down. And just start to see if you can feel peaceful, detached. Notice this feeling here of not needing to do anything. Let the breath again be spontaneous, just letting it move in and out of your nose. As you notice your breath, notice the coolness of the inhale, the coolness on your nose, in your head, in your throat. And then notice the warmth of the exhale. Moves out of your nose. Again, the warmth in your head, the warmth in your throat. This is a really great way to start to train your mind to become more aware of your breath. And just by noticing your breath, it'll automatically slow on its own. And just notice when that happens without trying to force it or anticipate it. And in this relaxed state of mind and physical body that you're in, just notice the energy behind the breath, the energy that rides the breath, that moves in and out of your body, your vitality. And just as you're allowing your breath to be spontaneous, allow your thoughts to be the same, undisturbed and spontaneous. Let them come as they do. And even here with the thoughts, bring your attention back to the coolness and the warmth of the breath as it alternates with each inhale and exhale. And then here, just notice the association of your awareness of peace with the feeling of the coolness in the breath and the release of inner tension with the warmth of each breath. And you can even further understand and connect to these feelings by repeating mentally as you inhale, peace, and as you exhale, freedom. And you can use these words to guide the flow of your thoughts, of your feelings. So they just move into consciousness. And then just let your breath move, letting go of that internal mantra. And just being aware of your breath here, the inhale and the exhale. And then notice when your thoughts float up, replace one of those thoughts with that thought of peace, but add on with that inhale, I am full of inner peace. And with the exhale, my soul is free. I am a free soul. I'm replacing these thoughts with these intentions of inner peace and a free soul. And then bringing your attention back to your breath, letting that mantra dissolve into peace and freedom. Let it become part of your consciousness. Let it become part of you. And you can stay here for as long as you'd like. And when you're ready, start to move around your fingers, your toes. If you're lying down, you can go to the side in a side lying position just to rest. If you're seated, maybe you just let your eyelids open slightly so you can just gaze down and let the visual senses start to wake back up again slowly. All right, and feel free to visit this meditation throughout the day or any time that you need it just to guide you through. And thank you very much for practicing with me, yogis. Enjoy the rest of your day.